Welcome back to Bravo Breaking News with Kim and Lisa.
The Summer House cast hit the reunion stage last night, and Lindsay came activated and ready to expose Carl's lies.
We also witnessed one of the biggest fumbles in Bravo history. The tables have turned on West Wilson, and Paige absolutely read him for filth.
We are going to break down everything. I have so many thoughts, and I can't wait to get into it. But before we dive in, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss any Bravo breaking news. Okay, so first of all, I have to say that I'm a Summer House newbie. Okay, this is my first season actually watching Summer House all the way through. Kim, you've been a champion of it from the beginning. You've told me several times over the years to get on board. I knew who the players were, but I just never really watched. And after seeing them at BravoCon and having so many interactions with Lindsay and with Danielle, I knew I had to watch. And I am so glad I did because it was so good. So thank you for that. And everyone, if you haven't watched yet, get on board. Okay, so everyone's arriving on set and the girls look absolutely phenomenal. Like, I think most of them are in some, like the category was midriff. Okay, they're all exposing their midriff. Lindsay looks stunning and she's got some abs, and Andy comments on them and she's like, oh, they're painted on. Which, I mean, good move. And thank you for being honest, Lindsay, but you look amazing. Sierra comes in. She is channeling Naomi Campbell and just looks gorgeous. You can see West's face as she walks by and he's like, damn, she looks hot. And then we hear Andy saying, oh, so Sierra, you have a billboard in Times Square with Madison from Southern Charm. And she makes a comment about like your two exes because they were both with Austin. And, you know, it's just like right off the bat, Sierra came to get, you know, she came to play.
And, you know, he's also like, oh, you know, maybe we should bring Austin. And she's also like, maybe some other people. So, you know, right off the bat, that things are not going to go well for West Wilson. We know it as soon as, you know, they pretty much start filming the reunion. I also have to give this cast a shout out. I mean, 10 out of 10 cast as far as looks, as far as season. I mean, this was the best season of Summer House yet. Now, I don't want to pull a West Wilson like Paige calls him out at the end being like, this season was so much fun while we're watching the demise of a relationship. But I just have to say that the whole cast definitely brought it, and they brought it to the reunion. I loved when we saw Jesse Solomon walk out, and you could tell everybody's face just like lit right up. Like that guy knows how to light up a room. He, as they said, was kind of a slow burn, but I feel like he came out very victorious at the end of this season and is definitely now a fan favorite. I loved seeing him, you know, integrate with the cast, and I think he's like kind of on good terms with everybody. You know, Andy also shares that we are finally, thank the Bravo gods, going to cut Kyle's mullet. I can't imagine how happy Amanda is in this moment to cut off that horrible mullet. I mean, this has got to be a win for her.
It's been a long time coming and it's time. Okay, so they kind of get into it right away with Lindsay and Carl. Andy says, did you consult Ariana on your revenge dress? Because it is giving revenge dress and I'm here for it. And Andy kicks things off by saying, on behalf of America, I am so glad that you guys didn't get married. Everyone agrees. And it's just, you know, we all know, we could all see it, that these two were just not right for each other. And even though I don't agree with the way Carl executed the plan, I do think that he did the right thing by breaking it off, because I don't think Lindsay would have. I think she would have gone forward and kind of pretended to be happy or pretended that this was what a marriage was supposed to be. And so I think I think he really did do her a favor. Now he's coming out and saying, oh, I didn't intend that conversation to be a breakup conversation. I just intended to say, we're not ready to get married. And it's like, excuse me, sir, that was very much a breakup conversation. You cannot tell me, like, we're not dum-dums here watching. You cannot tell me that you thought you were going to say all this stuff to Lindsay and then you guys were still going to be together and be engaged and just punt the wedding date. Like, no, sir, we're not having any of this.
Well, and you were going to call cameras just to have another of the same conversation with Lindsay, just to talk about the status of your relationship and why you're not happy. No, 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 sir. You're exactly right. I am not buying it at all. He called cameras to film his conversation with Kyle the morning of, and then they follow him back to the house with Lindsay. It's clear as day what he's trying to do. He had this all planned out. Lindsay actually shares that she asked him, why are we filming today? Like, what's going on? Why are we filming today? And apparently he popped off for 45 minutes and was like screaming at her, like another fight, just another blow up issue that they seem to have every other week in the house and continue when they're back home. And I guess he didn't tell her what they were filming about. Of course, they have this same conversation over and over again. Are you going to call off the wedding? Do you want to call off the wedding? He continues to say no. It's almost like he was like waiting for this moment, like waiting for the cameras, and was like stringing her along so he could like get this on film, on camera, so people could see like how it went down.
Yeah. And I understand there's been a lot of debate about Lindsay saying that she's blindsided, right? Because unless she really had like the wool pulled over her eyes, like she should have known that this was coming. However, when they sat down and had that conversation, I truly don't think she knew how that conversation was going to go and what it was going to be about, because she starts off by saying, look, I want to say I'm sorry. I understand where you're at and like I want to support you. She thought it was about the career thing. And so then when he hits her with, I'm not comfortable getting married, I think she was blindsided in that moment. And that's what she's referring to. Not the fact that I don't think she was completely blind that they had issues, but like I do think she was blindsided by that conversation happening at that moment. But I do have to ask you this. So in the one season that I've seen Lindsay several times say, why are you so upset? Why are you so angry? Why are you screaming at me when no one is screaming at her? And so when she says Carl popped off on her for 45 minutes and was screaming at the top of his lungs, I'm just not sure I buy it. What I see, it seems to me like she is a little bit of a gaslighter when it comes to calling someone out for how angry they are. And I want to know your thoughts.
I think that there is a side of Carl that we haven't seen on camera. I think that there is an angry side of Carl that can get just as activated as Lindsay. He just likes to hide it behind the scenes. I don't know. I think that, oh, you were screaming at me. Maybe it's not technically screaming, but if he's pissed off and is raising his voice and is coming at her aggressively, call it screaming, call it whatever you want. I do think that Carl is not innocent in all of this. And I hate how he's trying to play the victim mentality, that it was all Lindsay coming at him all summer long. I think that he can serve it right back to her, and we just don't see that on the cameras. He's a little bit more controlled maybe when they're filming or something like that. But I don't know. If she says it, I don't know. I want to believe it. I want to believe that she's not trying to paint this picture that she's, innocent. I don't know. I mean, I also want to say just about Carl and Lindsay in general, we compare it to Scandival, we compare it to all of these things. But it's really interesting that, of course, with Ariana and Tom is completely the one to blame. He did something that is beyond fucked up. Jax and Brittany, Jax is obviously the issue here. He's the one to blame. With Carl and Lindsay, it's like you really don't know who to back up 100%. And that's what makes this so interesting and so like compelling. Like you need to follow their every move, and every detail that they expose and say is like, oh, that's interesting. Oh, that's a point for Lindsay. Oh, that's a point for Carl. It's like very, very interesting.
Yeah. And very toxic. I think it's just like they were in a toxic relationship, and I feel sad for Lindsay because I do think that she, in her mind, like she might not know what a healthy relationship should look like, because she was ready to accept this as her forever, right? This constant fighting, this constant not getting along with your partner, not feeling supported, not feeling like he understands you or even likes you for the person that you are. She was ready to live with that. And like, that makes me sad. I think she thinks it's normal to, be in couples therapy for the rest of your life forever and to just like always be butting heads. So I really hope that she is able to find someone who, shows her like what a relationship could be, because it doesn't have to be like that.
I agree 100%. But, she's kind of putting it all on Carl. Like when she said he had to pay $125,000 to cancel that wedding. Like that means you're really, really done, especially for somebody who doesn't really have a real job, to pay that money to call it off. I mean, you're done. You're done. What did you think of when you heard that? And also, like, he's paying the rent. Like, do you think that he definitely should have done that? Or do you think that, I don't know, he has a right to kind of go off and do his own thing?
No, I definitely think he should have been paying the rent. If he signed a lease, you need to pay the rent. If you don't want to live there, then like that's on you. He should have thought about that before he signed the lease. The wedding thing, I don't know. It's an interesting debate. Like if he's the one who called it off, then I guess, he's on the hook for it, for all the cancellation fees. But at the same time, it's like, it's clear that you guys like should not have done this. So I don't know. It's a little bit murky for me, but I guess at the end of the day, yeah, it was his call. She was willing to move forward.
Maybe it was $125,000 well spent, according to you. So
exactly.
Speaking of weddings, though, let's get into the flower boy conversation because, of course, that gets brought up. Kyle is still butthurt about it. He was expecting to be a groomsman, which he should have expected. I mean, I know we flash back to Amanda and Kyle's wedding. Obviously, Carl was the officiant. He played a very big role in their wedding. And of course, Carl's blaming it on Lindsay, but Lindsay kind of,
yes,
she didn't have anything to do with the groomsman choices. That Carl actually said this was his choice. And he had a bunch of like old friends from back in the day that were going to be his groomsmen. And if one of them were to drop out, Kyle wouldn't have been the replacement. It would have been Andrea, which is, boom, a shot right to the heart for Kyle.
Yeah.
I mean, how would you feel if that happened to you?
I mean, shitty. And look, Carl did unfairly imply that it was Lindsay's wish not to have Kyle as a groomsman. But at the reunion, he kind of admits I felt like she didn't want to have Kyle. And I get that. Sometimes you just know that your partner is not going to be okay with something without them having to say it. And again, I didn't watch last season, but I sort of know that there was a lot of blow-ups. Kyle got very involved in their relationships and in the relationship and said a lot of things. And so I would understand, like Amanda said, Lindsay, I would understand if you didn't want Kyle as a groomsman. Like, I would get it. So I think Carl was going off of a feeling. And I also understand not wanting to piss her off. Like, Andy kind of said, you don't seem that fun to argue with. And it's like, yeah, from what I've seen, it seems like she has arguments kind of with everyone at some point. So I think if you're like her partner, you got to do certain things to sort of, keep the boat on, what's the phrase? Even keel? Keep things on an even keel.
Yeah, and that's the thing with this relationship. There are so many little technicalities. Like you said this. No, actually, I said it this way. Like
right.
You did this. Oh, no, actually, this is how it went down. And that is why I am so invested in I need to hear every little detail because it all paints this bigger picture of really what was going on. Like, yes, I definitely agree with you. I think that Lindsay felt that way. She just didn't say it, and so therefore she's going to use that to her advantage.
Right.
Which if I was in this situation, I might do the same thing. But let's get into the girls because a lot went down between them. We get a Lindsay versus Paige segment, and it kind of comes up unexpectedly because, I guess after the news broke, all the girls went out to dinner. Lindsay posted about it, and Paige kind of saw right through that. It kind of seemed like Lindsay was trying to get attention, trying to get in the headlines and make it seem like all the girls were rallying around her. But Paige is kind of making it clear that she wasn't. And it's very interesting because Paige was carrying this little secret in her back pocket that she heard at BravoCon. I thought this was really interesting.
Yeah, so we get this story that apparently at BravoCon, Carl told Paige that there was a moment during the summer where Paige had some photo shoot and Lindsay's friend was at the venue, or it was her venue, and Carl overheard Lindsay and the friend talking on the phone saying that they were going to sabotage Paige's photo shoot. And Paige felt a certain way about that, as you would, because she thought they were cool. You know, she says, I thought we actually kind of got on this summer. We connected in a way that maybe we haven't before. And so when I heard this, like, it really upset me. Lindsay's denying it. You know, she's saying, I don't remember that. I don't remember saying that. And so it's just kind of bringing up this feud that seems to always kind of be simmering.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's been simmering for a very long time. They have a long history. They have not really gotten along at all. So to see them kind of come together this season was nice, actually. But, you know, Paige is not one that you want to cross because she is like the silent killer. You know, she's not technically going to like rage on you all the time, but she's going to, you know, she's going to check you. She's going to, you know, have things about you, and she's going to, you know, you're going to learn how she really feels about you eventually. And that kind of comes out about Danielle too, because they start going at it about the whole blog about Craig getting kicked out of Kyle and Amanda's wedding. Danielle exposed it. Lindsay exposed Danielle exposing it. And Lindsay's like, well, I was just trying to cover my ass. So then it goes between Lindsay and Danielle. Now there's like another issue between them. And I don't know. I want to hear your take on all of that.
I mean, I don't know. Danielle's saying, I didn't leak the story. I just confirmed it. Okay, well, that's, you know, you were the source, the unnamed source. And I think at the beginning of the summer, like, Lindsay was kind of unsure about where her and Danielle stood. Although on the reunion, we learned that they had previously gone to lunch and kind of hashed things out before they started filming. So I do think it was kind of shady of Lindsay to bring that up and say, you think it was me who leaked the story. It wasn't me. And like, she could have just stopped there and said, look, I can tell you wholeheartedly it wasn't me. But no. She had to say it was actually Danielle. And so that's, I think, pretty shady since her and Danielle had already kind of reconciled. And Paige just says, you guys are always coming for me. And I don't hate you, but I see you. And I think that's where Paige really wins because she's smart, right? She understands they're going to film a show and like they're going to be together. So like you said, she's not going to go and rage every scene, but like, she's going to hold on to things. She's going to not forget things. And it's just another tick on Danielle's like naughty column, I guess.
It's giving the Hills. I will forgive you, but I will not forget you. And that is like, it seems like Paige's motto. And I loved when like Andy was basically like, so you didn't care enough to have a one-on-one conversation. She's like, correct. Like, she literally does not care about talking to Danielle. And I think it all ties back to Danielle calling her out for not giving anything to Craig. And that kind of, you know, rolled off of Paige's back in the moment. But she's like, you know, this isn't somebody that I really need on my side. This isn't somebody that I need to sit down with or mend things. And she's like 100% transparent about that. And I love it.
I love it. And she is like, Paige is a good friend. I mean, the way she sits there and backs Amanda and backs Sierra, you can tell that she is a good friend to people who are a good friend to her. And I just, I'm a huge Paige fan. I know you have been for quite a while, but I started listening to Giggly Squad and I'm obsessed.
I mean, I absolutely love Paige DeSorbo. And you know who she's reminding me of this season is my other stan, Katie Maloney. They are girls. They are ride or dies, and they will defend their friends to the death. And that is exactly what Paige did to West at this reunion. So let's get into the Sierra and West of it all because I need to discuss this. I've been thinking about it all night. And we finally got a lot of information about what happened after cameras went down, where their relationship went. We learned that they kept dating until December, which I had no idea. Nothing was leaked. We didn't hear anything about that. They went to his parents' house. They went to a wedding together, you know. But Andy's like, so you guys were like dating. And West's like, basically dating. Like, dude, like you started sleeping together. You took her to meet your parents. how is that not dating? Like that right there is like, strike number one. Like he is never going to commit.
I was literally like yelling at my TV when he said that. Like, you still couldn't say, yes, we're dating. Yes, we were together. Dude, fuck right off. Like, that to me is showing me that he is just immature, and like, it doesn't matter who it is. He just doesn't want to commit to anyone. And I was kind of pissed at West because I feel like he is a fuckboy dressed in simp clothing. Like, also like Sierra, I feel like I got a little bit because I was really riding for West. He seemed refreshing. He seemed, down to earth. He seemed to really like her for her and be willing to, go at her pace. And I feel kind of like a fool. I mean, here we have on the other end of the spectrum, we have Jesse, who, don't get me wrong, I adore Jesse Solomon. Okay, I think he is such a good cast member, and I just really liked watching him. But it's like, he's kind of a fuckboy, but like, you can tell he's a fuckboy. West, you can't tell that from off the bat. And so I feel like that is dangerous. And I was just pissed. If Sierra's not good enough for you, then who is going to be good enough for you?
I don't know. I mean, this man had a Victoria's Secret model, like literally wanting to be with him. And he thinks that he can just go out and like go sleep with a bunch of Bravo fans. No, sir. You're on our shit list now because we are also girls. We're not going to turn on our girls for some fuckboy that is a one-season wonder on Bravo. He's coming back next season. But, we have the New York Times saying he's the number one guy in the group. We have everybody saying, he's the good guy on Bravo. No, he proved to us that he is just like every other guy on Bravo. And I don't know, do you think that he was like, they're accusing him of kind of like latching on to Sierra to kind of play the game of reality TV to get that attention rather than be like the loner in the house? Do you think he had some sort of like, game he was playing throughout the season? Or do you think he truly had feelings for Sierra?
I don't think he was playing a game. I think he truly did have feelings for Sierra, but I think that he took it too far. You have to be self-aware enough to understand when you're not ready to commit to something and the other person is wanting that, then you have to shut it down, because otherwise you're just going to hurt them for the sake of hurting them, and that's fucked up. And I think that New York Times article and like all the acclaim that he's gotten was kind of his death kiss. Like, he shot to the top too far and now he's going to fall. And don't get me wrong, I do still think he's entertaining and I love seeing him and Jesse together. So I'm not saying that he like should be canceled and like we should all turn against him, but it's just same as Paige. Like, we see you now, West. But you met him right last week at the finale watch party. So what was your impression? Did you get to talk to him at all? Tell us everything.
I did. I mean, it was very brief. We were basically in a line for a photo op with Jen Fessler and Lisa Milan. So it was kind of a group thing. He was very nice. I think he loved the attention.
Yeah.
I don't know. We didn't really get to talk that much. We didn't mingle. He didn't really mingle with the fans afterwards. Though I do think that he had, there was a group of girls that came to the summer house that he was like, Sierra, I want to introduce you to my friends from back home. And all of his best friends are girls. I'm pretty sure those girls were at this watch party with him. And he was like hanging out with them and mingling with them. And that's like red flag number one. If a guy has a bunch of best friends that are girls, probably not. I don't know. It's giving. Who else had a bunch of best friends that were girls on Bravo recently? I'm like getting deja vu and I can't remember who it was.
I don't know. I can't think of it either. So let us know in the comments if you're thinking of it. But yeah, it's like, so then he has this kind of like girly entourage following him around. I mean, let's be real. He's saying, no, it wasn't because of the temptation of the show that I couldn't commit to Sierra. Yes, it was. Like, you wanted to be able to have the freedom to, hook up with any girl who slides into your DMs, or you meet at a bar, or you meet at a watch party. And that's fine. Like, you do you, but don't string along someone in the background and, you know, make it seem like you're into her when you know that you're going to cut things off eventually.
And he tries to play it off like, you know, like, I wasn't sure if you would be cool with me, like, doing all of these watch parties. Like, no. Amanda put him in his place immediately.
Yeah.
Like, Kyle is out doing this stuff all the time. The fans are respectful. If you're in a relationship, they're not going to go after you. They're fans of me just like they're fans of Kyle. So fuck you, West, for even saying that.
But also to Sierra's point when he was saying that, if you want to, you will. If you don't, you won't. It's the same as like any situation when you're not physically with your significant other. Like if you want to go out and cheat, you're going to find a way to do that. If you don't, and you're just not interested in anyone else because you love your partner and that's the person you want to be with, then you won't. Like you're not going out and seeing people as opportunities. And he's just not in that mindset.
He's not. And
his awareness was off.
His awareness was off. I do want to read Paige's full monologue because this will go down in history. But I want to say one last thing about Sierra. Like, she broke down. Like, this woman, I think she loved West. I think she fell in love with West. He created this picture of himself that was not who he really is. And she let her guard down. And I just feel so sad for her. I mean, she played it so cool all summer. And then finally, you know, I don't know, let him have everything. And what he gave her, as she said, was the bare minimum.
Right.
But Paige completely eviscerates him. And I just want to read her monologue so we can all experience it again because it was just great. Look. So no one's faulting you that, like, you came on a show. It was about to air. It is women viewers. They're gonna love the new guys. You're all memes. There's so many DMs. We get the allure of that. But we are also her friend, and we get the allure of her. I mean, you have to be blind to not. So we couldn't understand how the fame and, like, the lights and camera were so much more enticing than, like, your real life. We live our real lives, and then there's a camera. We don't live our real lives because there's a camera. I mean, we had 2 people have the worst summer of their lives, and you're in our group chat being like, this is the best season of the show. This is so exciting. We're like, 2 people's lives are literally falling apart. Like, your spatial awareness was off. I mean, truer words have never been spoken. She just, like, hit the nail on the head. Like, it's almost like I don't know. I think maybe he came in with a little bit of an agenda. I don't know. That's kind of what I think was happening.
I think he's just more into himself than we realized. And so I think to him, he's not seeing the season. He's not seeing the parts of the season that don't have anything to do with him. He's seeing himself have a great time, himself getting the hottest girl in the house, himself, you know, everyone's loving West. And he's just not paying attention to whatever else is going on. And he even said, like, maybe it's a little bit of narcissism in me. He didn't want to be Sierra's guy. He wanted to make a name for himself on his own. And okay, like Paige said, you would be lucky to have that position as Sierra's guy. Facts.
Oh, 100%. And the fact that he doesn't get that, I don't know. I think he still has a lot of growing up to do.
Yeah.
We'll see if he gets a redemption arc next season. I am 100% sure he is going to be back. And we still have part 2 next week where we're going to get deeper and deeper into the Carl and Lindsay of it all. I can't wait. I am seated. I'm invested. So make sure you guys tune in next week for our part 2 recap. And make sure you're subscribed, of course, so you don't miss any more Bravo Breaking News.
See you guys next time.